So we have the front of our speaker with the speaker in place, and we have two sides, here and here. We also have a top and a bottom. What I'm going to do now is make the part which makes up the corner. I can use the geometry that I already have in place here, here, and here to make an accurate piece to fill that corner. So the first thing I need is two lines. So I'm going to draw a line using the pencil tool from this point here to this point here. Now I need to go over here and touch this corner, and then I can make a line which is perfectly aligned with the end. I can then continue my line till it reaches this point, and then I have two lines. Now I need to go to the arc tool, click on the end of that line, and then the end of that line to define the two ends of my arc, and then I can just drag till I lock onto here, and now I should have created a surface. Now that will become apparent if I hide all my existing components, and you can see that what I've done is that I've created a new surface. All that remains now for me to do is use the push-pull tool to drag that out. Then by dragging onto the other component at the side, I can make that exactly the same length. Triple click, make component, and I can call that corner, and I'm done. So I've now unhidden the top and the front, which I hid before, and you can see that my corner, which I just made, is here, and you can also see that actually what I need here, here, and here is exactly the same part, but just rotated. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a copy of this corner by dragging it. So I take the move tool and I press down on the Alt key, and the plus sign appears, which means I'm going to make a copy as I move. I'm going to pick it up by that point because I want to move it onto this point here. So here we go. And lock it into place, and it's in the correct position, but it needs to be rotated. So that's dead easy to do. Take the rotate tool, make sure I get it into the blue axis, and I'm going to hold down shift now so it stays there. I'm going to find a point to lock onto. That one's fine. Click once, move out, click again, and then I can let SketchUp know which direction I want it to move in, and then I just type 180, and then it's rotated by 180 degrees. All I have to do then is move it back so it's in the correct position. So I want this corner to move onto that corner, so I pick it up by that corner and move it there, and it snaps easily into place. And now I need to make copies of these two corners and move them down here, then rotate them until they're in the correct position. So first select, and then I'm going to hold down the shift key, which means I can select something else at the same time. And now again to the move tool, press option once, and then drag. I'm going to move this corner because that needs to lock down onto that corner. So again, I have two copies of my corner pieces. In this case, they need to be rotated in the green axis. So what I'm going to do is take the rotate tool, move it until it's on the green axis, hold down shift to keep it in that axis, and then I'm going to lock onto that point, which is the midpoint of that component. So click once, let go of the shift key, move out, click again, and then you can drag to let SketchUp know which direction you want it to move in, and then again type 180, press enter, and now all I need to do is choose the move tool, pick it up by the corner, which is going to lock onto here, and there I have my corners done. So the basic speaker is pretty much made. All we need to do now is put a back on it. That's also quite easy if you use components. We have a component at the front which is the right shape, except that it has a hole in it which the back doesn't need. However, I can still use this. So the first thing I'm going to do is, just like I made copies of the components for the top, the bottom, and the sides, and also the corners, I'm going to make a copy of the front component. So move tool, press the option key once, and then I can make a copy as I move, and I'm going to move it straight back on the red axis. And I'm going to click once it's in the correct position. What I need to do now is get rid of that hole. However, if I get rid of the hole in the new component where I just copied, I'm also going to get rid of the hole in the front, which we don't need to do. So what I'm going to do is turn this component into a unique component so that when I edit it, it won't affect the front panel. And again, I'm going to right click, and then underneath where it says edit component, there's the choice to make unique. That means now that this is a separate component from the component which makes the front panel. So to edit my component, I'm going to double click on it. The nice thing about Sketchup is that if I click on this line here, delete it, and then also click on this line here, delete it, that the surface which was once cut by that hole is now completely reformed. You can also see that editing this component, because it's now unique, has not affected this component in any way. So all that remains now is for me to move that component into place. So I'm going to select it, choose the move tool, and then I'm going to pick it up by a point which will allow me to lock it in position. So this point here, and then I'm going to move it so it locks onto the corresponding point on the other part. Deselect it, and now I have a complete basic speaker.